Let's talk non-physical, non-physical. Let's talk non-physical. Let's talk non-physical. Let us have some spirit talk. Some spirit talk. Let us have some spirit talk.
I want to see if we can do this. If we notice a difference. Do you want to try this for like around a minute?
Okay. I'm looking at the center, or the center line between the two.
I don't know if you noticed this, but I can even see the phantom image on the same background.
Yeah, me too.
You too.
It looks like glowing.
Another thing I want to check with you,
nice.
I see in the black areas, I see a darker black in the center. Do you see the same, that like the borders are lighter than the center of the lines? I wonder if that's an illusion or not. It seems to be an illusion.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all sorts of weird after-image illusions going on.
Well, I'm going to switch in a few. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, this is interesting. You know, I saw that too. But I also saw a lighter background rectangle under the two O's, covering the whole screen.
That's funny.
It was lighter.
Yeah, I see that too. Like I see like a black or a white box corresponding to the whole screen. Yeah.
So it's funny because in my case, it separated the O's from the background. So I saw the two O's like in a whitish color, and then the rectangle without the O's under that. That's weird, huh? So it's kind of like it separated the two. But in this case,
funny is my two O's for a little bit merged and became an infinity sign, and then they unmerged.
Oh, this is interesting. You're right. Now I'm seeing them moving.
Mm-hmm.
But so far I couldn't merge them. I mean, I'm getting closer, but not to overlap.
Yeah, and it only lasts for a few seconds. Yeah, no, see, they're merged and then they're not merged. I think it's because there's a little bit of blurriness that merges them. And then I just.
Well, I'm gonna stop sharing. I want to tell you something else.
Okay. Okay.
I also was practicing a little bit in my kitchen, looking at the wooden doors of the cabinet, and I noticed that. Okay, I tried some. I mean, because of the lighting, I see some gradients on the wood. So it's a little lighter on the top, and when you go down, it goes like a gradient, right? And for some reason, I think most probably is me doing it. That's why I'd like you to do something similar to see how much is my own creation and how much is unexpected result, right? So in my case, it helped me to think of letters coming in green color, in a light green. And actually, let me tell you some history about it. Sometimes I saw the letters in the same place in the past, in white, light gray, with different light grays or different grays, let's say, and also light green. But I think that when I try today, and maybe some other day too, I think the green, I like it better because it's more different than than the gray. So it's like more obvious that it's something, some other layer on top of it. And then what I was doing was kind of like try to relax in a way, not watching it like the normal way you watch, trying to like relax the vision in a way, and actually have faith that that layer is there. So, but I think what is really going on, I think, is that I'm bringing another layer that is, I would call it non-physical. So it's not really on my vision. It's like another channel imposed to the normal vision. And I think that by thinking it that way, it helps me to keep this new layer there. Because if I'm super focused on the physical, then it goes away. Because if I really focus on seeing the wood itself, but if I think this is okay, I can see the letters and I focus on seeing the letters, is that the channel gets better hooked up and it's like a stronger connection. And then if I wait long enough, I might start seeing the letters more clearly. And at the beginning, they might move. I might see letters, but they might not stay. They might move. They might do both things together. Morphing, I mean, the same spot, let's say there is an O, it might change to a B. And also, they might also move, like to the left or the right. But what it keeps is the line. So it is like a band, and the height of the band is always stable. The size of the letters are stable, but what changes is either the letters or the location of the letters and the letters. Well, like I said, letters themselves. It's very interesting, right? I mean, the way. So the way I interpret it is that
there's a certain there's a certain consistency to what's being produced for you. What's the font of the letters? Is it a computer font? Is it handwriting?
I would say like Arial, like the default font like I use on Facebook. I think it's Arial. Yeah.
The universe prefers Arial.
I think my assumption is that the font that you watch the most every day or lately, let's say, actually I should do an experiment about it. Because I use slightly different fonts when I'm doing programming. I don't think they are exactly the same as compared to, let's say, the Facebook font. So if certain days I'm spending way more time in one font, I think that's the one that most likely will come up.
Yeah. It makes sense. You know what I was wondering? I was reading, I mean, this is kind of a tangent, but not completely. I was reading, or actually, I was watching a video. Neil deGrasse Tyson was explaining how starting in the 1700s, with the invention of the microscope and telescope, people would base their observations not on what they see with their eyes, but what an instrument picks up. So you talk about these different things, like you experience physical visualization and then non-physical visualization. Would what you're seeing be picked up with like something like a functional MRI? You know, something that can see what you're thinking. Would it actually pick that up? Maybe it would, because at some point the non-physical is being converted to a physical signal, and then the physical signal is what you're seeing, right? Like it may have a non-physical origin, but it ultimately is getting processed by your physical computer, your brain, which would explain why when you look at certain fonts for a certain period of time show up in that font, because it's almost like the non-physical is triggering the memories in your brain to to produce the necessary effect. I'm just throwing it out there, but yeah.
Well, in my case, the way I see it is, I don't think really the brain is such a big deal, to be honest with you. I think it's, in other words, the way I see it is that we use the same processor, both when we channel the physical and when we channel something non-physical. It's like the processing is the processing hardware, let's say, I think it's exactly the same. The difference is in the tuning. The more, so it's the same hardware. Basically, what would be the comparison? It would be, well, the comparison would be go to a different website. You're having the same computer, the same software, and the website, let's say, uses JavaScript, and it uses your hardware to run the JavaScript. So it's the same, but the difference is in the channel itself.
What about, so they've done fMRI experiments where they have people look at images, okay? And then they read their brain waves while they're looking at images, or they read whatever, blood flow, whatever going on in the brain. And then they're able to extrapolate, given that you look at a new image, they can extrapolate what you're seeing, what your brain is seeing. So I guess at that point, it's physical. Like something we see in the physical world that's viewed with our physical eyes and processed by our physical brain is still physical. But then what you're arguing is that at some point, there's a consciousness that interfaces that and reads off of that. So in other words, the consciousness doesn't necessarily see through our eyes directly. It connects with the part of the brain that processes what our eyes are seeing. That makes any sense.
I don't know, but let me ask you something though. When you, so you're saying, for example, in the, let's do the two processes. One when we see the physical, and the other one when we are doing visualizations, right? So in your case, I mean, I don't know if I read you correct or not. You can tell me. But for example, when I'm looking at outside the real trees, I have some trees outside. So the trees, the information comes through my eyes, like my eyes function like a camera, let's say, right? And then goes to the GPUs, CPUs, that whether it is linked to the brain or not, but we agree that we have some hardware, right? And then we get the output, the screen that is the screen in our mind, right? Well, now comparing, what do you think happens with the visualizations? Do you think it's also the same brain hardware processing the?
Well, this could be a good experiment. If you have somebody who's like you, who can maybe hold a scene in your mind fixed for a certain period of time, they can measure. It takes a few seconds to do the recording, but they can measure your fMRI signal and see if they can deduce what you're seeing in your visual field. If they can't do it, then it means that it was never there in the physical. And if they can do it, it means that at some point the non-physical information got converted into something physical, which your brain can interpret. So I don't know what the answer is. It would be a good experiment though. It would be kind of like asking, I want you to imagine this, and then we're going to measure your fMRI and see whether or not we can match what you imagined. Or you're dreaming, you do an fMRI, and then we determine to see if we can read your brain while you're dreaming and see if we can do that. And we may be able to, or we may not be able to. I don't know. That would be a crazy experiment.
Yeah, it would be nice to be tested because, for example, it would be nice to do a test where I'm watching an image for a long time, eyes open, see the pattern, and then I close my eyes and try to see the exact same image. I mean, it could be something simple, right? It could be like a letter. So I watch the letter for 5 minutes, then I close my eyes and I try to repeat the letter. Like right now, for example, I seen an A because I thought about an A.
Mhm.
But the other thing,
Mhm.
so an experiment would help a lot. I agree with you. Experiments checking the differences between normal vision and visualizations would be awesome. In the meantime, what I can do with my limited equipment is to,
you don't have a fancy
yeah, have the
FMO
the Muse
machine?
2. I can show you here a little bit. You see?
Oh, you have a mind wave, yeah. You can
It's
measure
the
one.
the Muse 2.
Oh, the Muse too. That's what I meant. Oh, I have a mind wave. But yeah.
To
So
see
you can
to
measure
do the
your,
same experiment, let's see. Maybe I see some difference in the waves.
Yeah.
But another thing I'm thinking is another way of interpreting it is the following. Because if you compare, for example, because I mean, some people tend to think the brain is so important that it makes a difference, right? That is the brain doing something in particular. And maybe they might assume that visualization work in a totally different way. But one possibility, I think, and I presume most likely the case, is like what happens when you go to two different websites. So let's consider one, the physical, as a one website, right? And the other one, another website. But I mean, why do you need to think about different hardwares? Because you can just go to your cache, or maybe it was stored already in your computer, right? And see what images you got, so you can, that would be the equivalent to measuring with an MRI, right? So it can tell you, because it's like the evidence of what you saw is in the computer. So basically, even though the two channels, the two websites were acquired in a different way, the end up result is the same. I mean, this is some assumption I'm making, right? So for example, another way of seeing it is you connect your computer, you connect to a local network. So let's say the local network is the physical. So still the images and text you get from the local network are stored in your computer, and it's going to be stored in the same way as when you go to the internet outside the local network, and maybe even see the same website. Let's suppose my soprano.com, I see it in my local network from my server, and I also see it from a laptop I have here, but connected outside the local network. But the end result is the same files. The same files are stored in the computer. Well, it might be different devices also, but it's the same data.
So yeah, so the idea is that there's a certain amount of redundancy, like they're stored in, they're both viewed and stored in different locations. There's multiple locations. So the brain sees the image and generates like an after image. The non-physical sees the image, processes it a different way. So there's like all these different processes going on simultaneously. You know, one is being recorded on the cloud, another one's being recorded in the brain. You know, people suffer from brain damage. So the argument, the physical argument is, well, brain damage is damaging, you know, your disk drive, your storage, right? But the flip side could be the brain damage is damaging the parts of your brain that access your non-physical memory, right?
Right.
But I have one other thing for you. They do these experiments where they open up somebody's skull and they use like a little probe, and they touch little areas of the brain, and it triggers memories when they hit parts of the brain. So this, of course, contributes to the physicalist argument, right? That these are actually stored physically, that these memories are actually stored physically in your brain. But it's just an experiment that people have done that show that there is a certain amount of triggering of memories by touching different parts of the brain with an electrode.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can interpret it in a different way. You can interpret it like in a computer, you have certain links or shortcuts, right, to websites. But
Yeah.
you kind of like move your files around in your computer and you forgot where they are, right? So that would be the equivalent of somebody losing memory. So then what you were saying that when they were stimulating certain parts of the brain, maybe what happens is that they're bringing back those shortcuts. So it's not that they might be bringing the memory itself, but they're bringing the connection to the memory.
So one thing that people have said though about the brain as they've started studying other brains and stuff like that, like smaller ones, is they're incredibly complex. They're incredibly intricate, we'll call it. So this intricacy could go in two directions. One, the physicalist arguments could say, well, the intricacy is storing memories. And the flip side of the argument could be that the intricacy provides some sort of bizarre interface between the non-physical and the physical. In other words, you require this sort of intricacy in order to interface the non-physical memories. I don't know. So it's just an interesting observation that people have made that these neurons are incredibly. And another thing that I think is really interesting is that at least our dumb notion of how neurons work led to the field of artificial intelligence, or led to the field of neural networks. Although there's some errors, of course, because, for example, in our mathematical neural networks, we need something called backpropagation, which they've never actually observed in humans. So it could be that by accident we came up with a really cool way of encoding knowledge, but it was based on a misunderstanding in how the brain works.
Another thing that would be interesting, because I don't know if anybody paid attention to this, is if there is a case where they notice that they forgot memory from dreams. If an injury, I mean, but that wouldn't work for everybody, but it would work with somebody like me, right? Let's suppose I have an accident, right? And then I lose my memory, I don't remember certain things in the physical, right? But I wonder if it is a similar percentage to the memories of my past dreams. That would be something interesting to research, right?
So another thing is that some people don't remember their dreams at all. They don't even remember that they dreamt. So what is that? Is that a physical ailment? Is that a spiritual ailment? So there's a lot of questions, but yeah, they've done studies. They did some weird studies with frogs where they found that they could remove parts of the brain or scramble them and put them in different directions, and the frog didn't actually forget anything. So maybe, and they called that the holographic theory. That's why they called it holographic, because they thought, well, maybe the position is important. But maybe what it is that the parts of the frog's brain are actually just primitive consciousness interface devices. And it doesn't really matter what location they're in, because they don't actually store memories. They're just simply a more primitive mechanism to interface the spiritual world.
Right. I mean, one thing I agree, even though I'm not a materialist, but I agree that you can get a lot of stuff from measuring the brain activity. That's something I agree with. Because at the end, even though you're not sure if the storage is local or in the cloud, let's say, but still you have some effect on the access of that data. But I want to add something in some comparison between dreams and memory in the physical. One thing that I realized we have in common is that in the physical, when you are doing the same thing, it's like you don't care much, right? You're always doing the same thing. So it's the same, it's monotonous, right? And then when you change, you usually remember more the changes. than what you were doing in a long period of time if you were doing the same thing. And also there is a difference in the perception of time, right? When you are doing the same, the time tends to go faster at some point. When you have to do a lot of things, it might seem slower. The thing is that in a dream, something similar happens, that if you're doing the same thing, you don't remember much of doing the same thing. But every time you change, you tend to remember the changes too. In that sense, it works in a similar way. And probably that's what we are doing, because when we come back to the physical after, waking up, we might have the problem that we had to get rid of a lot of data, or let's say put it further, not so close to be reachable. So then you tend to store the most important parts, and usually those are related to the changes. So I was here and then there, this happened and this other thing. If you were doing something for a long time, there's no point to remember all that. Imagine having a dream staring at a window.
It's like you're storing the delta. Well, it's like you're storing the delta rather than the. It would be like an event camera, where it only looks for the differences between the frames, not the continuous part. It makes sense that you wouldn't want to waste all of your memory on the things that are just repeating themselves over and over again. That you would try to focus on learning from just the things that different. Do you remember when the last time you drove for 20 minutes? Do you remember the whole drive? Probably a lot of it is completely.
Sorry, what you said the last time I what?
Drove a car.
Oh.
The last time you drove a car, do you remember the whole trip, or do you just kind of remember, maybe leaving and then coming back?
Right. Yeah, driving is the same. You remember the main thing, because if nothing happens, anything monotonous you don't remember. But if you suddenly saw something, out of the ordinary, then you're gonna remember. Especially if you have a fight with the with the car next to you, or they were tailgating you.
Well, so sometimes I listen to talk radio while I'm driving, so I might remember what was discussed during the talk radio, but I have no recollection of what I saw when I was driving. I don't remember the color of the cars or how many cars there were. I don't remember anything, but I'll remember what they were saying because that was novel.
Another thing I want to say is that I'm thinking about some things to prepare for the next practice of text, and I want your feedback. One thing I think I want to do is to create, let's say it would be like a video of doing the alphabet, A, B, C, D, right? Also, if it's not a big deal, I don't know which software I would use, but so that I can change the speed. Let's say I start with a slow A to C, right? And then I can try to make it faster, see the difference between, with the speed. That's one thing I'm planning to do. Also, at the beginning, maybe just one color, like simple, maybe white background, black letters. Maybe change the opposite. Those two are usually like a must, let's say, black on white or white on black. Then let's see, maybe bring some other colors. But another thing I was thinking, and then at some point I thought about music or singing, but the problem with music and singing is the copyright. So I cannot put a song that we know, right? But
you use my music.
What? Your music, right?
You use my catalog of music.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Maybe we can do that. Either your music or we can create some AI music.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was thinking,
really bad violation of copyright, but yeah.
is to kill two birds in one shot. Is to have it, well, either one of us read something, or I make it like a synth read some text. But I want to, for example, use set stuff, like some portions of set that are very cool. So then we can watch it and, watch and listen at the same time, the words coming. Or actually, well, we can do it different ways. We can watch the words, or we can close our eyes. And actually, the second one is the most important, I think. So eyes closed and hear the voice, and try to do the captions, like you were saying. Caption the voice.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now as you speak. I'm captioning your voice.
Well, that's another thing I was thinking about doing it. Yeah, with you and maybe Bonnie. So even if I speak fast, you can catch it. I mean, you can follow it.
There's a point at which I'm gonna have a seg fault, but yeah.
Well, maybe you can try to create some rap song, like when you talk very fast.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah. See, that's the problem. I have trouble hearing lyrics and music because there's too much. They talk too fast or not clearly, then I lose it.
I was just following your voice. Well, I think one thing I noticed a little bit is that when you speak slower, I think the awareness of the word is a little better because it lasts a little longer. And when you speak fast, I had to switch fast, and the quality lowers down a bit.
Yeah, if you talk slow enough, then each word can use up your screen. If you talk too quick, then you run out of screen.
Yeah, it's good to not always make it fast, because then you don't have a lot of retention. So I think it's good to either do it with slow or mix between slow and some parts faster.
Yeah, the problem I have is if I'm sitting there annotating or transcribing your speech, I might not even hear what you just said because I was too busy just turning it into words.
That's true too, right?
Interpreting.
Well, that's why I like to. I like the idea about, for example, using it some text that I really like from Seth, let's say, so that the concept is important. And also, we're going to notice a difference if we try maybe with different speeds, or also to see what happens when we repeat
why don't we use a text to speech? So why don't we load up like some simple text to speech and use that? And that way we can control the speed of the speaker, and we can put in different text. We can just cut and paste different text into it.
Yeah. Also, it would be nice to have a good voice, right?
Yeah. So there's I don't remember what a good one is. You found Whisper, which was a great transcriber. There's something called Tacotron, but I don't know. There may be a newer one that's better.
By the way, do you like Obama voice?
Ladies and gentlemen.
I think he has a cool voice.
Yeah. Well, and there's AI, you can make AI in this voice too. So yeah.
I wonder if with the AI you can mix.
He's a good orator. What?
I wonder if you can mix, because I would like to try, for example, my voice mixed with Obama's voice, for example, and graduate the degree of mixing. And so I want to see at what point I become Obama and I lose myself.
Well, yeah, I don't know. There was this one site that had this thing where you could type in text and it would do like different cartoon characters and celebrities. I don't know if that site is still available. And we're just doing it for short testing purposes. It's not like we're making an application that's going to be used by thousands of people.
And I also want to think.
I think it's called 11 Labs or something.
Oh, 11 Labs, yeah. Because I know we most probably we're going to come up with new ideas in the future. Because I also like to see if we can come up with something like a little game with words that people can. Because I mean, my idea is also to have a practice that is fun, that people can enjoy the practice. So no matter if we end up channeling or not, but we can have a good time practicing. And in any case, I think that by practicing, you can improve your memory of words. That by itself is an accomplishment. Because I noticed my photographic memory is improving.
You could do a word game where you give somebody, you know how like you create Bitcoin passwords with like 5 random words? You give somebody 5 random words and then you see if they can remember those words. And so what you do is you memorize them, but you also put them in your mind into your visualization. And then you see if that helps increase your ability to remember the words. So, a lot of possibilities.
Oh, wow, you gave me another idea. I don't know exactly what you said, but what if, for example, we are two people, let's say. Well, I don't know if 2 is enough, but let's say I ask you, okay, name a fruit.
Yeah.
So name a fruit.
Grapefruit.
Huh?
Grapefruit.
Grapefruit. Why is it so complicated? Grapefruit. It's long.
Orange.
Well, I make it simple. Banana.
Okay, banana. Great.
Banana is way simpler than grapefruit, right? But in any case, grapefruit and banana. So we can. I think 2 is enough. I mean, I can focus on one of the 2. You don't know which one I'm choosing, and then try to send only that one and see if you pick up the one I chose, for example.
Okay.
I don't know if we to do it now, but on some other day. I don't know.
Yeah. No, but we could do something like that. Actually, we could choose something like maybe a square versus a circle, or something like that, or like you have different, like maybe a series, or even letters, a series of letters or symbols. You choose a symbol. You know, that's what they used to do with the Zener cards. The Zener cards are 5 distinct symbols on cards. And they don't just use it for guessing what the card is, you know, flipping and guessing, but they also did it for seeing if telepathically one person could project to the other person, yeah, it's a lightning bolt, or it's a, you know.
I got another idea. Yeah. Let's say you're a certain number of people, right? Let's say 3 people. Mm-hmm. I want to keep it simple, especially at the beginning, right? So yeah, I visualize, and we keep an order. Let's say I'm number 1, you're number 2, and let's say Bonnie is number 3. So I always pass something to you, you always pass something to Bonnie, and Bonnie always pass something to me. After a while, we can reverse the order, right? So I can, for example, visualize. So my choices are passing to you an apple or a banana. So I go choose what to pass to you, and I visualize me with my hand passing you the apple, let's say. And then you say, I think I got an apple, or I think I got a banana, and then you do the same. You pass it to whatever, one of the 2. And then Bonnie says, I think I got an apple, I think I got a... So who knows, maybe if we do that, we might get a more than 50% guess, because the average should be 50, right? If it's only 2, it's 50%. It's like a flip coin. Are you channeling the dream channel?
So we each have to write down what we thought we did, And then what we thought we got, what we thought we did. Yeah, that's funny. So it's the telepathic phone game. All right. Well, I gotta run, but yeah, the telepathic. So next week. So let's stop recording because I want to tell you what's going on.